नमस्कार, मैं हूं तरुण जैन. I am a student of Shastra, more like a hobby student of Shastra, and one of the Shastra that has interested me the most is the Niti Shastra. Niti Shastra has been authored by Chanakya, also known as Kautilya. So, I have what I'm discussing today. I have a download from, it's called the Chanakya Niti Shastra and has been translated by Miles Davis. So there are total of 15 chapters, 16 chapters, 17. The total of 17 chapters. The total of 17 chapters in Niti Shastra, and in one video we will try and cover 5 or more from each chapter. So starting with the first chapter today, or the first one, commonly known as the first book, the first maxim that's written. So chapter 1, first maxim: humble bowing down before the Almighty God, Lord Shri Vishnu, the Lord of the three worlds, I recite Maxium of the science of political ethics, that is the Niti, selected from the various Shastra. So in other words, my interpretation of this is what Chanakya is saying is he is seeking blessing from different gods, and also stating that this Niti Shastra is a collection of Shastra, it's this collection. The source of Niti Shastra are multiple other Shastra that has been leveraged by Chanakya to complete this piece of work. So he's putting that right in front. Number 2, the man who, by the study of these maxims from the Shastra, acquires a knowledge of the most celebrated principles of duty and understands what ought and what ought not to be followed, and what is good and what is bad, is most excellent. So in other words, Niti Shastra is aimed more towards householders. So people who indulge in life of a householder, that is, they have a family, they have emotions, they run a business, they could be doing a work, and have a normal life and have normal emotions, different to, say, a brahmachari or a saint or a monk. So these maxima are a good guidelines as to, in my understanding, a good guideline as to how to live a good life, a good householder's life, in terms of what one should practice and undertake, and things that a good householder should not practice, not undertake. And that's what the point 2 states. Number 3, therefore, with an eye to the public good, I shall speak that which, when understood, will lead to understanding of things in the proper perspective. So the first rule is, this is good for mankind, although these are more applicable to an individual householder, but when you implement or use or practice these maximas, it is good for the community or the world as a whole, given that you understand these maxima in the right context, which is very important because of the fact these maxima were written about 5,000 years ago, and some of these maxims could be, I was not aligned to the current society or current way of thinking, or current way of understanding and people's experience in today's life. However, we have to undertake these maxims in the whole context of how Chanakya is putting it across and his own experiences and findings in the world. And of course, these findings and sources are varied and from different shastras, all put together. Okay, number 4. Even a pundit comes to grief by giving instructions to a foolish disciple, by maintaining a wicked wife, and by excessive familiarity with the miserable. So in other words, no matter, a pundit is supposed to be a person who's knowledgeable, a wise person, generally speaking. So even if a person is wise and learned, if that person, in this case a man, pundit, associates with wrong kind of people, for example, having a foolish disciple, that is, he is associated with a disciple who is not very smart, a wife who is wicked, and somebody who's miserable, but the pundit is close to that person who's miserable, would attract trouble for the pundit. So it's very important to identify people around you, no matter how learned and good person one might be. It is important to associate yourself, not to associate yourself with these sort of people, because in the end they will provide you or give you trouble or grief. Number 5, a wicked wife, a false friend, a saucy servant, and living in a house with serpents is in it are nothing but death. So in other words, a wife who's wicked, you all understand that. A friend who is not a true friend, in fact, is a false friend. A servant who talks boom boom boom, and one lives in such an environment or such a household is nothing but death. That means eventually death, not in terms of dying essentially, but also in the fact you have no real life, or your life would be miserable, or you'll have an unhappy life, or not a positive and progressive life. All right. So these are the first 5 maxims of chapter 1. Namaste.